able to do this kind of stuff we talked about. Class of '84, and you're part of some really good Cardinal football teams back in the day, the '81 team, '82 team, both in the Cardinal Hall of Fame along with yourself. You want to talk about those squads that you've seen on the gridiron back in the day?
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing I'm going to do is take just about 1 minute and just talk about some of the great guys I played with. First of all, I played for a coach named Vic Wallace, and why he's not in the Hall of Fame right now, I don't have any idea. So I wanted to plug in for let's get Vic Wallace in the Hall of Fame. On the defensive line, I played with a guy named Steve Montgomery. He needs to be in the record book. He's got a bunch of sacks. Also played with a defensive end, Art Davis, also a great player. Defensive lineman Guy Weber, he needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Steve Holman, he is a guy that needs to be in the record book. He's got a bunch of sacks. Jan Redmond, as far as linebackers, Gary Ainsworth is a Hall of Fame guy with me. Steve Mattingly is the guy who played next to me, a Chaminade college prep guy from St. Louis. And then one of my favorite mates is Steve Ennin, Parkway, I think, West guy from St. Louis, a great guy. And Jerry Twigg is a guy. And then defensive backs, the guys that also need to be in the record books. Dave Armstrong, Doug Switzer, Danny Christian. Dad was a coach at, I think, Smith for many years. Mike Newman, Hall of Fame guy. Paul Taylor played Vianney in St. Louis. So just a bunch of great guys, not to mention the offensive guys. Kelly Groom, Hall of Fame. Steve Hodges, Hall of Fame. Scoop Gillespie, Hall of Fame. Jim Reed sitting right down there. He's dying for me to say he needs to be in the Hall of Fame, but that's for the people to vote him in. But he's got my vote, and Mark Mandell's a Hall of Fame offensive guard. So we've got all kinds of guys. I played with all kinds of guys. So if you want to call me an All-American and Hall of Fame guy, it's because of those guys. That's why I got the accolades that I got. As far as those teams were, I walked into a gold mine. I was recruited by Stan McGarvey, but by the time I came on campus in January, because I was a transfer, he was gone. Vic Wallace was here. He got things going. We went 10-0 right off the bat. Won our first playoff game, beat Pacific Lutheran, the national champions from the year before. Beat them right there on their field. They had never been behind the entire year. Really, and we hurt their feelings. But Frosty Westling was their head coach, a classy guy. Brought his team from their end zone after the game, walked him down to our end zone, gave us a standing ovation. Really, what a classy guy.
Classy move.
Classy move. And then we went down to Austin College, and we got beat on a very, very, very how would you say it? Bad call.
Ill-fated, maybe.
Ill-fated. There you go. That's the best way to put it. But again, it was a great game, and those guys went on to win the national championship. So it was nice to get at least beat by the national championship.
So you're exactly right. Sometimes if you're going to lose, maybe you'll lose.
Yep. And then '82 was our national championship run, and again we got upset by Mid-American Nazarene. We got beat 10-9. My good friend Kelly Groom had a little bit of an off day. We felt that they didn't score the touchdown. We felt they were short on their fourth down attempt. But that's what it was. And they beat us, so we were 9-1 that season, and won 2 playoff games at Sul Ross State in triple overtime. And I happened to be the guy to make that tackle in triple overtime, and so I was the hero. But that was the easiest play of the game. Steve Mattingly, my buddy, made 2 shoestring tackles on probably the best running back in the country that year. So he was actually the hero of that game. And then we lost in the national championship to Linfield, Oregon, and we don't need to talk about that game. So we can skip that one. Yep. So, but those two years were fantastic years. I played 83 and 84. 83, wait for that team to go into the Hall of Fame.
Michigan, 22-21.
And again, why is Vic Wallace not in the Hall of Fame?
Minute left in the fourth quarter. Navy leading number 24 South Florida, 41-38.
So that's it. Sorry I talked so much, Gray. But
I love hearing it. I love that. I think what's more impressive, not only listening to all the guys, the accolades, and what they were able to do, and whether
Arizona defeated number
defense,
25, Cincinnati 30-24.
the fact that you can still remember all their names, I think probably is off the gridiron the type of people that were here and the type of people that Jewel cultivates too, because you can have the numbers and have the good playing on the field and have the accolades there, but if you're not the type of person in that locker room, there's no reason for that name to necessarily be remembered later on. It sounds like the teams that were great on the field, I would imagine great off the field as well.
Well, shucks, I'll tell you, the times we had off the field, I sure cannot talk about those times, especially in front of people that I know here. And golly, it was fun being here, not only athletically, but it was fun academically. I did have the opportunity to go over to Oxford and study at Oxford, and it probably wasn't the most academically demanding type of situation, but I got to travel on the continent of Europe for 6 weeks, and that in itself was a tremendous educational experience.
And it wasn't your first time in Europe, because you could go back there later and play professionally after your time here at William Jewell.
That is correct. That is correct. Because of Vic Wallace, I did not go on the trip in '84 with the Jewell team. There was a internship through the Coro Foundation, which means nothing to you, and I don't know, it all means nothing to anybody, and really didn't lead me to anything except for I made some good friends, but I didn't go. And the Helsinki Roosters asked Vic Wallace, who would you, if you could sign one guy, who would you sign? And he said, Tim Johnson. So they called me, they signed me, I got off the plane, I walked through the terminal, I saw him, and all of a sudden, all this blah blah, and finish, and I said, what's going on? Well, we thought you'd be a lot bigger. That's what they said to me.
Oh man.
So the first practice, they set me up against Artie Tooley, the most famous running back in the country of Finland. They put the old Oklahoma drill in, and he was fast, and I knew he wasn't going to pick 1 or 2. I didn't think he was going to pick 4. I thought he was going to pick hole number 3. And it happened, and I just went boom, boom, and it was over. The next thing I know, that was the end of the drill. And it was, hey, TJ, how you doing, man? And the rest is written in history. So I played for the Roosters. I played in Italy for a year, and then I went back and I coached 2 different teams in Finland, and I also was a coach on the national team, and I got 5 medals. I got a few gold, silver, and a bronze.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So
amazing the amount of courage and respect that's driven out of an Oklahoma drill. Because either then they would have been all right, we'd send them back to America, and then you're part of the team.
They may have, and at the end of that tackle, I look up and there's my first Finnish girlfriend right there, Tina, sitting on an old heavy 60-pound bag, reading a trashy American novel, and she just pulls her sunglasses down, looks at me and winks at me, and 85, summer 85 was written right then and there.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
Talk to me about the difference. Obviously, the game is the same. It's 100 yards by 53, whether you're in America or you're over there. But just some of the nuances about playing overseas that might not be thought of here in the college game.
Like I asked Jim Reed down there, I said, if it's 35 points at halftime, do they run the clock over here like they do in Finland? Because if you're up by 35, sorry, we're running the clock because we don't want to just totally humiliate the opponent. Yeah. He said, no, dude. He said, we're here in America. They're going to play it out. So the second half's going to be played and every second's going to be counted. So that's one nuance. When we started over there, Jim Reed and Paul Troth was our backup quarterback here. They were the first Americans to sign. They stayed over there when the '84 Jewell team went over there to play. And so we had a quarterback and we had a receiver on the field at the same time. Do the math. It was pretty much Paul would look in and say, Jim, do you want to score or do you want to run? So it was like, we'll score anytime we want to. And they did. And that's when pretty much got banned that you couldn't have an American quarterback and a receiver American. You couldn't have two Americans on the field at the same time.
Gotcha.
And if you chose a quarterback, you couldn't have two Americans on the team. So you either brought one quarterback over, or you could bring over two Americans, an offensive player and a defensive player.
Gotcha.
That's back then. Now, when Jim played, when Jim played and I played, man, we were superstars because they had only played since '79. This is '85, '86. Okay. Now it's a little bit different. Okay. Who's the guy who played last year in Finland?
Adam Callahan.
Adam Callahan. Okay. You know, I don't know how he did, but according to the people here, he was the best who's ever played here at Jewel.
One of, especially in the NCAA era.
Yep, it's no question about it. So, you know, he probably didn't stand out like I did because they're a little bit better. There's a couple Finns that play in the NFL now. So football has gotten a lot better. They'd be slapping me around. You know what I'm saying? Because of my size. You know, I was extremely quick and I was very smart and I could read. But no, I would not have been the defensive player of the year last year like I was in '85. In '85, I got that nice accolade, but it wasn't because I was that good. It was because they were playing in hockey equipment just a few years before. Okay, let's put things in perspective. Okay, my ego doesn't need to be, they were in hockey equipment, 3 or 4 years before, and I happened to. But it was nice because I got to show them how to play, and that's where I became the coach, and that's where my coaching career took off.
And I want to talk about that coaching career here. Rockhurst High School, I know you were saying here before we went in halftime, still got the Rockhurst helmet there in the house. When you think back to your coaching career, what sticks out?
Lambuth University, Jackson, Tennessee. That's where I really, my first son was born there. I know that my wife got her education degree there. She started, that's where she picked out what she wanted to do with her life.
Vic Wallace.
Vic Wallace, he was the one that brought me there. We got, we were in the semifinals 3 straight years. We had tremendous teams. I have guys all over the place that I keep in contact with. I was a strength and conditioning coach. I have so many strength and conditioning coaches out there that are coaching football, that are teaching kids how to be safe, how to, especially the females, and what this ratio and this ratio means to them, especially. I just did the hamstring and the quad, so people on the radio know what I'm doing. So that, if you really want to snap it, it's that, and then it's the national team that I got to be a part of in Finland, coaching with ur3xe and with those guys over there, and winning a gold medal in Italy, and taking just hurting their feelings on their field in Italy. Those are the two big ones that stick out.
That's awesome. Love that. Yeah, taking names and a few Oklahoma drills along the way for you.
Yep.
One final question for you, just bring it back here overseas coaching, but William Jewell, a special place. We're both alum of William Jewell. It's special for a reason for everybody that walks through the doors and leaves with a degree. When you think back to your time at William Jewell, what are some of the moments that stand out, or some of the impacts it's had on you personally?
Linda Newton, she was a communications teacher here. She meant an awful lot to me. She did an awful lot of good stuff for me and helped me through a lot of difficult situations. Bob Trotwine, psychology, again, meant a lot to me. Did a lot of good stuff for me. It's people like that make places like this special. The Harriman theater or art program. Every Friday, I used to go get my 2 tickets, and I'd go down and see Ferrani and Teicher. We saw the Chinese acrobatic circus. Those are 2 things that I remember. And we went, I took my girlfriend, Andrea Eddy, Hall of Fame. She used to drag me around. She was a cross-country gal. I mean, we ran. You know, Beth Nelson, daughter of the great Jim Nelson, Hall of Fame coach. She was my girlfriend. We went down there. I mean, so, you know, I surrounded myself with great people, and that was one of the reasons why I was able to get through a place like William Jewell. So it was a place it was a love-hate relationship with the Hill. You know, and that's the way it is with a lot of people there. It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah. No,
So-
that's great. And the fact that, yeah, some of those names, communication professors, I had one, Dr. Chastain, I'd say the same thing. She's,
Yeah.
you know, there's something special about the communication partner here.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, thank you very much. I'm so glad we were able to make this work.
Great. I appreciate you a lot.
Thank you. We'll see you around.
Thank you.